Hey everybody, it's me, Lawrence Presman. Stoppage Time. Nick Boorman and Carmine Bianco with us. We're talking soccer. We're talking it all show, except of course at the beginning when I talk about other stuff. But let's say hello to our guests. Nick, we'll start with you. I talk to Carmine every day. How are you? What have you done since Friday? Any news? Have you been working out?
I haven't done much. I painted an awning on the house, so that was my exciting weekend. Otherwise, I haven't done a damn thing.
And Mr. Bianco, sir, I've been watching your cooking. You made a beautiful shepherd's pie yesterday. When's that recipe going up?
It's not going up. It was just a lunchtime thing I kind of whipped together. I was hungry.
It looked good, man. How did it taste?
It was fantastic, man. We devoured it. But for the English people out there, Prez, because, you know, we have a friend, Rainey, they will tell you true shepherd's pie is made with lamb. This was not made with lamb, so it's considered cottage pie.
Whatever, dude.
There's a difference. Yeah, well, it is what it is. But regardless, it was meat with gravy and potatoes and vegetables. Good enough for me.
Everybody watching, thank you so much for joining us for Stoppage Time. We do this every Wednesday and Friday. Nick Boorman, Carmine Bianco, and myself. You can find Carmine at wagertalk.com, Nick at sportsmemo.com, and me, well, I'm the Prez. And yes, in case you're watching, you could see my shirt. It is dripping sweat. I just rode 12K. I did a Peloton class. I had no time to shower, put my hat on, hit the show. Hey, Jordan, welcome to the show, my friend. Nice to see you. Guys, what we're going to talk about today, three kind of topics, if you will. We're going to discuss the Nicaragua games. Two specifically, we're going to talk about an update with what's going on with all the major soccer leagues around the world. And we're going to delve into in-game betting. Carmine's really good at it, and Nick will weigh in as well. I don't know if Nick is good at it or not. He doesn't text me his in-game bets as incessantly, never, as Carmine does.
He wins, though. I can tell you he wins, so he is good at it.
You know what? I know Nick wins. I mean, it's actually amazing. Nick, I'll tell you a quick story. We bought Sports Memo about 2 years ago off of Teddy Covers and a couple of other guys, and they never had a soccer handicapper. And I was like, Teddy, why don't you have a soccer handicapper? He's like, soccer doesn't sell. Nobody's interested in soccer. Soccer, blah, blah. Who wants to buy soccer? Dude, all you do is soccer, and you are one of the highest selling guys at Sports Memo. So congratulations, and thanks for proving my point.
Soccer's a big global sport, man. You know, maybe it's not as followed in the United States yet, but someday it will be more here. But it's awesome, man.
Yeah, you know, I was watching on Netflix. They've got a series on, you know, obviously you know this, but 8 teams. No, is it 8 countries? Yes, 8 countries have won the World Cup. That's it, 8 ever.
Yeah,
and They do a piece on each country, and I watched the Spain piece. And then I was in the car a few days ago, and they were saying, who's the greatest dynasty of all time? And obviously, being in Canada, you'd have people call in, you know, Montreal Canadiens for a certain period of time, the Yankees with Jeter and those guys. You know, you go back to the Boston Celtics in the 60s, New England Patriots. There is an 8-year period where no team in history was ever more stronger in their sport than Spain was from that World Cup Euro. A really good show, worth watching.
Yeah, no, that Spain team was fantastic. It's one of those things where it's kind of like France, unfortunately. You know, this virus has derailed things, but Spain had a young team going into those Euros. They grew as a team. They got better, won that, built it into a World Cup, built it into another Euros. And France has such a young team that when I did that the video down in Vegas with Marco, I said, you know, I thought France would win the the World Cup, and they had a young enough team that they were going to probably win the Euros this year and would be one of the favorites to win the World Cup 2 2 years from
was
today,
one of the highlights of my
now,
life,
right?
Carm. I was in Santos when Santos won the Brazilian soccer league about 20 years ago, and they partied all night. I was in France when France won the World Cup. It was unbelievable.
Wow,
I mean, and I've been in France for 2 days in my whole life. And those 2 days were when France won the World Cup. It was incredible. They partied so hard. The only problem was they spoke French, so I really couldn't like the singing. I couldn't participate, but my God, it was just insane. Listen, guys, I want to just give you all a quick Netflix recommendation, and then we're going to get into the show. Carmine, Nick, look, you look like a cool dude, flat out. Carmine and I, we just look old. You look like a stud. So, with that said, who do you think, Nick, is the coolest man ever? Ever? Like Tom Brady, John Bon Jovi, Bruce Springsteen, Beethoven, Donald Trump. Who's the coolest guy of all time?
Coolest guy of all time? That's a tough question. I've never been asked that question. I would... I'm a rock and roll type of a guy. I would have to say, in my lifetime, of all time, I don't know, but I'll go with now is Dave Grohl.
I think that's a very good choice. He's got to be right up there. Carmine, Roberto Baggio and his stupid tail. Who's your choice?
I don't know if I have one, man. There's so many actors I like. There's so many musicians I like. Well, I'm a Springsteen fan. I grew up on Springsteen. I love Springsteen. Kind of like Mark Lawrence was talking about yesterday. I don't know. I don't know where you're going with this.
I'll tell you where I'm going. This is going
to be one of those Arthur Fonzarelli references.
No, the coolest man alive by far, period, is Laird Hamilton. He's got a documentary up on Netflix on his life story. It's 2 hours long. It is one of the best documentaries you'll ever see. This guy is unbelievable. Carmine, do you know who Laird Hamilton is?
I don't.
Okay,
sorry.
Nick, you do for sure, right?
Is he the blues
God,
singer?
no. So anyway, Laird Hamilton is the greatest athlete in his sport, and he never competed in any single competition. How could that possibly be? Can you imagine being the greatest goaltender in soccer of all time and never play for a team? How? Laird Hamilton is the greatest surfer of all time. The footage is ridiculous. Before Laird, a big wave was 20 feet. Now it's 100. Before Laird, people surfed for 5 seconds on a wave. Now they can surf for 30 minutes out in the middle of the ocean. Guys, you got to watch this documentary. It's absolutely spectacular. Hey, Don, welcome to the show. Guys, if you've got any questions, let us know. I'll ask the boys and we'll get to it. Okay, boys, let's start right off the bat with the Nicaraguan Soccer League. Carm, watch that Laird Hamilton thing tonight. Same with you, Nick. I promise you, you will thank me for it. Okay, boys, I can't pronounce these teams. Dirigen, minus 200. A draw, plus 333. And some team, Juventus. Yeah, I just said that because you love Juventus. Juventus Menigo, plus 400. The total on this game is 2.5. Carmine, let's go to you first. What's going on, my friend? How do you think this game's going to play out?
Yeah, I'm going to start with the proper pronunciation of them first. It's Dirigen and Juventus Managua.
That's according to you, Carm. I can pronunciate things wrong if I want.
Absolutely. You can go any way you want, but it still doesn't change how it's pronounced. But regardless, it's the quarterfinals. This is a single game elimination. The semifinals and finals are 2 games. 2-game ties where it goes by total goals, aggregate goals. But this is, these lines are volatile. I'm going to make this quick. I know you want to keep this quick. These lines are volatile. When they came out, they were much lower. I've talked about this before. you could have had Dirigen when they first came out. They were like 180, I believe it is. They've gone up 70 cents. They're playing fantastic at home. I think they, if memory serves me correct, I think they'd only lost their first game out of the hopper, and then they've gone unbeaten since. At home, winning 7 of 8. I think allowing 2 goals. I'm pretty sure on that. I think they win tonight. You're gonna have to lay a goal on them. You might have to lay a goal, 1.25, which is a goal and a half.
Yep.
By game time here, I just think they're the better team in this one and should move on to semifinals.
Hey, Elliot, we missed you, brother. Jordan, funny, a remark. Kane, Steve McQueen is pretty cool. I loved him in The Great Escape, but he is no Laird Hamilton. Nick, what do you like in this? Hey, Vivi, what's up, Vivi? Nick, what do you like in this game?
Quick mention on the playoffs in general. So this first round is a single game knockout match versus the next 2 rounds are at 2-leg aggregate. So obviously a huge advantage to the home side in both of these games. And as Carm said, Dirigen has been very, very good this year. They won their last 5 games. They allowed 2 goals, and over their last 8 games at home, they only allowed 2 goals. So they've been very tough to beat at home. You have to lay a goal right now. You're not going to take them on the 3-way line. It's around 230, 240, something like that. So you got to lay a goal, which, in my opinion, kind of takes a lot of the value away because a goal win is a very likely result. But I think it's the only way you can play this. Juventus Managua did not win a game on the road this season, and going back to last season in the Apertura, which is the fall season, they won 1 game. So in both seasons this year, Apertura and Clausura, they've won 1 road game in 18 matches. So how do you back them? I don't know. Again, the goal a little bit more than I'd like to lay, but you're going to have to pay too much money to go any other way. So take the goal line on this one, and worst case hopefully is just a push.
Elliot, that's funny. Elliot logs on. He goes, Zup, man in the middle. Man in the middle is named Nick Boorman, one of the smartest soccer minds around, an incredible soccer bettor, and a guy you can find at sportsmemo.com. As for the Prez, 2-0 for the team that starts with a D.
Yeah, and you're going to get plus 600 if you or 6-1 on your money if you take Dirigen to win 2-0 in this game. So it's one of those ones where the total's sitting on 2.5 minus 112 juiced both ways. So they're not really expecting this to be a high scoring game where you'd see that juiced a little bit more. And they're playing so well at home that 2-0 could be a good scoreline here.
Yeah, I don't call it nil. I'm just, a rebel. What can I say? Guys, another game. Mr. Ferretti, Walter's his first name, minus 200. A draw is plus 320. Jalapa at plus 425. I cannot believe I'm talking about these teams right now. Please, COVID end. The total on this game is 2.5. Nick, I'll go to you first. Give us your thoughts, please.
I agree. 2 months ago, these were not the teams I expected to be talking about this time of year, but here we are. And I will say, I may never go back. I've had better results in the last 2 years.
It's funny.
So we'll see what happens.
Nick in 18 months, he's like, take Walter Ferretti and his children.
At that point, the books will no longer even have lines.
Is this the only team named after a person?
Could be.
Anyway, who do you like?
Similar. Again, you go back to the home side. I looked at the Apertura season, the fall season, and both home teams won each of their games 1-0. So Carmen already mentioned these lines have been usually moved, and this one has moved more than the first game we talked about. This one's moved like 60, 70 cents, as Carm said, and on the goal line, it opened at -1. It's now minus 1.25. Again, I would have to side with Ferretti. At home, they've been very good. They've had a couple games where they've scored 4 goals, 7 goals. They've won 4 straight at home. They haven't given up a goal in any of those games. And Jalapa, similar to Juventus Managua, has not been good on the road. They have just one win in this season on the road. So minus 1.25, I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of, though. I'd rather take that full goal. I think it's around minus 140, 145. So at this point, a lot of the value is gone. If you're going to go and still take Freddie, it may be worth trying to possibly take a heavy money line parlay with Duriangan in the first game and take two of the home teams to win. But otherwise, minus 1.25, my personal opinion is a little more risky. It doesn't have the safety net of the push, of course. So if you're going to take it still, I think it's okay, but go a little bit less. Otherwise, take minus 1, pay the extra juice. But I can't recommend Jalapa on the road here. I have to go with both home teams. Kind of square plays in my mind, but I can't argue any other way. Maybe Carm can go the other way, but I certainly can't.
Yeah, it's not so much. I'm going to order, if I continue to win with bets I make on Walter Ferretti, I'm going to order a Walter Ferretti jersey. I'm not really sure where I order it from. I'm going to have to really tap my resources in Nicaragua. And by that, I mean I have no resources in Nicaragua. But I think the last 5 or 6 times I've gone on or against them, I've won. I'm actually going to wait on this line only in the thing of I'm kind of hoping that Ferretti takes a little more action so that goal line goes up to 1.5. And the only reason for this is if it goes up to minus 1.5, I'm going to take the plus 1.5. I won't take it now at 1.5 because chances are I'll push one and win one. But I'm only winning half my bet if I took Alapa, the J is silent. So I want to get plus 1.5 in order to take this bet. So I'm going to wait closer to game time. And the great thing is this is the second game. So once that first game comes off the board and people are looking for something to wager on, they tend to look at the favorites in any game. So I might get the plus 1.5 here, but I'm leaning under in this game, and I'm leaning the dog only because I think it's going to be a low-scoring 1-0 type game.
He's Carmine Bianco. I'm the Prez. Nick Boorman with us. Guys, I just want to welcome everybody to the show. Thank you for logging on. If you've got any questions, please ask, and also check out our lineup for the rest of the week. 3 p.m. Eastern tonight to this afternoon. Kelly, Minty, and Yanni the Greek, straight from the strip. It'll be a fun show. Tomorrow at 1 p.m., we're going to have a 4-person roundtable. Drew, Ralph, Matt Joseph, and Rob Vino, 1 p.m. Eastern. Total draft show, draft bets, getting you all ready for the draft tomorrow night. And then at 3 p.m. tomorrow is Teddy and Minty for Betting 101. Also, I do meet the experts every Monday and Tuesday. I'm really proud of that show. I think it's gone really, really well. Yesterday's show was Mark Lawrence. It was a really great show. And then Monday as well was an excellent show with Bruce Marshall. So check that out. Welcome to I don't know, what do you call it? Welcome to Stoppage Time, Abel. Nice to see you. Okay, we got 2 more topics to discuss. Carm, let's get to it. Give us an update on what's going on in the major soccer leagues around the world and when will they be back so we don't have to talk about teams named after people.
Yeah, no, I get it. And we're waiting for all sports to come back. NHL, the NHL talked about they're going to come back in July, so that's great for us hockey fans. But for soccer fans, we'll start with Germany first. Teams started training earlier this month, but they're training obviously in groups of 5 or less. They're aiming for a restart of either May 9th or May 16th as of today. But they need the go-ahead, which should come from the federal government at the end of this month, April 30th. Head to Spain, best case scenario. Here is May 28th. They have security measures in place now until the 26th of April. So early June is more likely, as they'll still need training sessions. France, the league voted on April the 10th to resume the season. They'll look to restart on June 17th and finish it off by the 25th of July. So we should get some soccer back there. That's Germany's the most likely followed by France. Italy's looking at late May or early June. They're looking to restart the season. Italy's on lockdown until May the 3rd. The IFF, which is the Italian Football Federation, wants to start testing players the day after that lockdown is over on May the 3rd before they resume training. I don't see it happening in Italy. Not a lot of players, but many players tested positive for the virus, so I'm not convinced that they're going to be able to resume anytime soon. And then obviously the most important one for us who are big EPL fans is right now everything was canceled up until the 30th. They continue to monitor it into May. The amount of TV money that these guys make is why they want to finish off the season. Teams stand to lose a lot of money if they can't cancel the season. The FA is going to meet again shortly. But everyone is watching, including the FA, what is happening in Germany, because they're the first league that's likely going to come back, and they're laying the groundwork for what other countries and leagues need to do. So that's your €5
Well, thanks, dude. Nick, do you have anything to add?
Other than I would just say that right now the Champions League and Europa League are hopeful to finish their seasons. Of course, that's if all these domestic leagues can finish theirs. And they kind of put something out there where they were putting the pressure on all these leagues and threatening a ban next year if they did not complete their leagues, that they would not have their teams qualified for next year's tournament. And right now, Belgium and the Netherlands have each canceled their seasons this year. So I don't know if they'll actually go ahead and enforce this. I guess we'll wait and see. I mean, if more leagues do it, I think it'll be hard to hold it. If only these two do it, they may penalize them. But if you have 10 or more leagues that effectively cancel their season, I think it's going to be hard to hold everybody to that. So they're hoping to finish their season. It sounds like normally you have these domestic leagues playing with the Champions League and Europa League going on at the same time. But it sounds like what they're trying to do is let the domestic leagues play quickly, finish everything, play twice a week if they need to, and then once those are done, immediately turn in and do the Champions Europa League in a 2-week span and move on to next season. So we'll wait and see what happens.
Guys, we're going to get into some soccer in-game betting. Before we get to that, some house cleaning. Elliot, yeah, man, thanks for following me in the NHL, brother. We have heard a little bit of NHL news. They are talking about coming back in July, but I think they're just throwing that out there for discussion right now, but we're holding our breath. So let's pray. And Nick, I don't know if you're in the chat, but there's this guy, you see his name, Rainy Day. So let me tell you a quick story. So we're a group of about 20 guys. We get together every second Friday to play poker. And this guy, Mark, brings this guy named Adam to our poker game. And he walks in, and he's hardcore British. Arsenal fan, right, Carm?
Yeah.
But he's like, I mean, the British accent. He looks British. He smells British. He dresses British. We named him Rainy Day. Now, tell me that is not the best nickname for a person from England. I mean, just, it really encapsulates the misery.
It does, and it makes sense as to why his screen name is now that. I heard you guys talk about him plenty of times, but I didn't know the backstory behind it. But now it all goes together.
Carm, go ahead.
But the thing is Nick, I'm not sure if this company exists down there, but there's a pizza place up here called Pizzaville, and the commercial goes.
It was a rainy day.
Like, it was a rainy day, and it just sounds like him. So one night we're all playing poker, and we decide to order a pizza, and we have him call Pizzaville. And he starts talking, and we're laughing, and they hang up on him because they think he's mimicking the voice of the commercial. So he has to call back, and we're still laughing. And I think they hung up on him a second time until we finally got that pizza order in. But, yeah, he's an Arsenal fan. He wants the season canceled because if they cancel the EPL season, the Champions League goes off of the UEFA coefficient, and Arsenal's fourth and would get into the Champions League, even though they sit ninth in the standings.
Yeah. So it was a rainy day. I just think it's the greatest nickname ever, like flat out ever. I mean, have you ever met a happy Brit? Yeah, I don't think they exist. I guess when their soccer team wins, they probably have a moment of glory. Anyway, let's get into some in-game betting, Carm. You're really, really good at it. I got a bunch of questions for you. Let's start with the first one. That's how it works. What are the advantages of live betting as opposed to pre-game wagers? I mean, that's a general question, but answer it, please.
Yeah, well, obviously, once the game starts, if you're on a platform like, let's say, Bet365 or Betfair or any of the other ones out there, there are a ton of betting options because this sport in Europe is huge. So there's more betting options. You also have more information available to you. Sometimes you're betting that pregame wager and the game starts, or lineups become available only 45 minutes before the game. So it's having more information. It's also seeing things are set up. Sometimes you'll get a team lower in the bottom of the standing playing like a Barcelona at Barcelona. You find out well into the game or a few minutes into the game that they have a pretty heavy defensive lineup. So if I'm watching these games and I see a team like a Betis with 4 in the back and 4 midfielders, but 2 of the midfielders dropping, essentially they've got 6 in the box and they're collapsing. It's going to be very tough for a team like Barcelona, even a team as good as Barcelona, to score goals. So this is where live betting becomes important, and you can start hitting that total and hitting the under, because the longer that game goes, that total is going to drop, and then we can get into what we'll talk about later on hedging totals. But you can get that total. Barcelona totals are usually at 3 anyways, sometimes 3.5. You can start hitting that under in live betting where it wasn't an option you had earlier because you didn't know how a team would play or what the formations would be. So I guess depth of range as far as how many betting options there are, and then information as far as lineups, formations.
Yeah, Carm, your mic is a little bit wonky today, but we did get all of that. Nick, do you want to add to that the advantages or disadvantages, the difference between betting in-game and pre-game, and why people should look to do it?
Yeah, I mean, all sports have their reasons to go in-game, and that's when you get a sense of actually what's happening on the field or on the court. But soccer in general, as Carl mentioned, when you get teams that are really lopsided, you get a big name offensive, 3-4 goal scoring team, Man City, Barcelona, those type of teams, and they're playing against those lower end teams. I always like to look for those situations. If the smaller team nets an early goal, you can definitely bet, if they weren't already, they're going to be packing in that backside. They're going to be blocking everything they can. They're going to be doing whatever they can to change their defense. And as Carm said, the unders, the teams that are the underdogs are generally a good bet at that point because they change their tactics enough to do everything they can to just play that game out. Another thing I like to do, I don't know if you use this site at all, Carm, is there's a site called SofaScore. And they have a cool little graph in-game that shows pressure. So a lot of the games you're not going to find live for your recreational bettors, in the United States, as far as being able to watch the game. So you can't see, the actual game. You watch a football game, you can kind of get a sense of who's dominating the game, even if the scoreline doesn't really show that yet. But SofaScore is a good website to use because it'll show you pressure, and it'll show you pretty much in real time. So you can kind of gauge, like, oh my gosh, the home side right now is dominating play. They've had plenty of chances. The pressure's up. They have the ball on the other side of the field most of the time. And it's a good chance as that line, maybe they haven't scored yet, continues to drop on their side, to go ahead and try to get something in quickly. So it's all about just trying to feel the momentum of the game, because soccer, low-scoring game, the score very often does not dictate what's going on the field. And trying to follow that live. Can't always do it on every game, but that's a good website and resource to use if you can try to watch it through stats anyway.
Great stuff, Nick. Carm, is there a better chance of finding value with live betting? I mean, my answer is yes, but maybe you can elaborate on that, please.
Yeah, to Nick's point, first of all, it is in any game with a heightened favorite or a big favorite, if you get, it goes both ways. If you're looking at the total, if you get that an early goal by the underdog, they're literally going to park the bus. You can start looking at the total, because an early goal, the bookmakers know that that action is going to come on the over with an early goal, especially if it's by the underdog. I tend to look at it the other way, where if the total's gone from 3 to 3.5 because of an early goal, because they expect the Barcelona to score 2 or 3 goals in that game and win it 3-1, I'm backing the under there. Another thing is, if you're looking to take a favorite, and much like tonight's games, where they're minus 250, when the true line was minus 180 getting pounded, these lines are volatile. You can wait 15, 20 minutes into the game. If the game is scoreless, those minus 250 numbers are going to come back to where they should have been at 188, 185. If at that point you want to take them, you can. The same goes with the total. If you're looking to bet the over, and you don't want to lay the juice, wait 10 to 15 minutes into the game, and that number is going to come down. So obviously you're now betting a number where it's a 70-minute game instead of a 90-minute game. But if your opinion was that you liked the over or you liked the favorite, you can get them at a better price 15 to 20 minutes into the game.
Carm, how do referees factor into this in-game betting? I mean, if you get a penalty shot quick right off the bat, a sus call, is that something that you're looking at, where you're going to think, okay, the refs are going to be a little bit looser throughout this game? Maybe they'll give another penalty shot the other way. Do you take that into account at all?
No, I don't. Well, with VAR now in most leagues, if not all the top leagues, refs don't have that same influence like they did in years past. I think that's why people don't like VAR, because their teams got away with a lot of stuff. I will look at the referee sites only to see if they're yellow card happy. Because it does, when you see a ref giving out a ton of yellow cards, it actually changes the way a game is played. And by that is, if you have a team where, the center backs take a couple of yellow cards early, or the midfielders take a couple of yellow cards early, you're fearful of that second yellow card turning into a red, and all of a sudden you're down a man. It really changes the aggressive play of players on that field when they're dealing with a yellow already. So I'll look, if I see a yellow happy referee, I'll take that into consideration as far as how my wagers go. But as far as red cards, you rarely see it now. But with VAR, if it's a terrible tackle, VAR will notify the referee on the field that they're taking a second look at it. As far as a red card, red cards change games. It's just the way it is. If you have a total and you're hoping for goals and you get a red card, you actually think it's good. It's not as good as what you would think 11 versus 10. It really isn't at times. So,
Nick, do you want to add anything to that?
Carm nailed it. I was going to exactly say the same thing with VAR, but before VAR, straight red cards, penalty kicks could be decided by the refs, and not so much anymore. Yellow cards, he's spot on. If you got to, get them early, it changes the way you can play. You don't want to get those second ones, and refs that have the tendency to throw them out quite a bit. And honestly, you'll see times where refs, not only just in general have it, they may have a tendency against certain teams, whether it's they grew up against that team or they are dating one of the players' girlfriends on the side, whatever it is. It could be something going on like that.
Elliot just wrote, VAR is cool. No, Elliot. Laird Hamilton is cool. Make sure to subscribe to our channel, everybody. Click the bell if you want to be notified when our live shows are happening. A couple more questions, boys. Carm, you sent some of these questions, and one reads, does live game wagering offer opportunities to hedge existing wagers? Look, we all know they do, so I'm not going to ask it the way you phrased it. Instead, I'm going to ask, when are you looking to make these hedge bets? And the reason I ask that question is, there is a lot of similarities to a degree between soccer and hockey. And very rarely do I actually look to hedge in-game betting. What I actually look to do is add on the same bet. So, for instance, if I'm taking Washington minus 1.5 goals against, the New York Islanders at home, and Washington goes down by 1, I bet Washington. They go down by 2, I bet Washington. So I actually use in-game betting to continue my original thought process. I don't use it a lot for hedging, although I do if I happen to have done a parlay and I've got that third, the last game to go. So, Carm, could you speak to that, please?
Yeah, I tend to use it mainly for totals. When I'm looking at hedging, I look at games where I find totals at 3.5, where I'm dead set on betting the under, and like 3.5s that are juiced to the over a bit. So much like a couple of games today are 2.5 minus 130 on the over, and you can get the under at plus money. If I can get 3.5 under at plus money, and I believe the game is going to stay under the total, sort of using my Opta numbers that I use for Wagertalk, I'll take that 3.5, and then in game, if we don't get any goals in that 15 to 20 minute mark, sometimes 25 minute mark, you see that live total dropping down. If it gets to 2.5, where the over is plus money, I'm literally locking in on the over now. And if the scoreline is right, and if it lands on 3, I'm winning both bets. You follow what I'm saying so far?
Sure.
But you can't lose any money
of course.
At that point, because you've got two wagers. You've got two wagers on plus money, and if you middle it, it's fantastic. You win both wagers. So
I tend to go here. Nick, obviously I know what Carm is saying. I tend to use that strategy more with my in-game for basketball betting. What's your sort of overall strategy with in-game betting in soccer?
I guess there's two types of people, right? You got your financial advisors that'll say hedge every time and guarantee yourself a profit, and there's the rest of us that are gamblers and like to ride our original bet and watch it go out. So it kind of depends on the person you are. For me, the hedge is really only something I'll do when, again, it's kind of like the flow of the game does not look right. You maybe pregame you're looking at you had a favorite, everything points to the favorite. And all of a sudden they just come out flat, and they're not the aggressor the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes. They even it doesn't really matter necessarily if they're leading, but probably better if they're leading, but they just don't look right. They're not quite sharp. They're not there speed-wise. The other team looks like the aggressor. It's a good time to hedge out and take them because, again, the flow on the field is a better dictator of what's going on in the soccer game than the score is. So that's where I'll look to hedge is when the flow doesn't match what I thought originally. Otherwise, I agree kind of with what you were saying. It's the longer it goes on, the more I'll add to my original bet, especially if the flow matches and you got a favorite that was, I don't know, minus 200, minus 300 even, and you took them maybe laying a goal and a half, and all of a sudden you're at halftime, there's no score, and now you can get them minus 150 to win, and you're looking at the numbers, and they have 10 shots on target versus one of the other team. Well, you know what? This is a good time to take that side and get value that you never had from the beginning. So I don't hedge as often. If I do, I agree with Carm on the fact that it's probably a total more than a side, but I like to add to my original play and hope as the game goes on, we get better lines like you do, Prez.
He's Nick Boorman. You can find him at Sports Memo. Carmine Bianco at wagertalk.com. We're going to wind the show down. I can't thank you guys enough for taking time out of your day to join us on these shows. You make it such a pleasure, everybody. It's always a privilege to work with people like Nick and Carmine. Make sure to check us out at 3 p.m. Eastern today. One of my favorite shows, Gianni, Kelly, and Minty, straight from the strip. So check that out. We got a little bit of good news today, Carm, with some of the soccer leagues discussing when things are coming back, and it looks positive. So let's keep our fingers crossed. But everybody understand this. It's all fluid right now. Germany's lifting a lot of the, sending people back to work. The governor in Georgia has decided that haircuts are a must, so people will be getting haircuts. One of the highlights yesterday, Carm, I know you go for a lot of haircuts. The Georgia government, the governor of Georgia was like, we're allowing hairdressers to reopen, but they need to keep social distancing. Somebody asked, how is that possible? The response, people are creative. How?
Trimmer on a pole.
Yeah, trimmer on a pole. I like it. Boys, thank you so much.
Two holes in like an umbrella or something. I don't know, whatever. I've seen that picture online.
Okay.
I don't get it.
Love you both. We'll see you on Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern for more stoppage time. Guys, thank you all. It's just, you make my day, everybody, for logging in and just being part of the community. Have they found the missing president in Nicaragua?
Yes, they have.
He is back.
Yeah. Listen,
he's back, the president?
He's back. He came back and he actually made a statement about soccer, and he says, we're taking advantage of the situation. He goes, and by that he means continue to play soccer, because there are countries like Sweden that are paying TV money to broadcast the games. So they're making money.
Yeah, I wonder, minus $1 million, that it goes right into his pocket.
Yeah, you are bang on that one, man. Much like the stock tips that you give me, you are bang on.
Hey, dude, how about my stock tips, Carm? In all seriousness, dude. I mean, we had a double in the last 2 weeks.
Yes, yeah. I took the money from my canceled trip to Vegas in September, and I put it into a stock, and it that Prez gave me, and it is practically doubled in price from where I bought it to where it is right now. So I'm close to taking out my investment and leaving the rest in there.
Yeah, I'm actually buying more. I'm just waiting for another little dip, and then I'll be buying more, and I'll keep you posted. But I bought 5 stocks in the last couple of weeks, and all of them went sky high. So I'm pretty happy about that. Thank you, everybody, for turning in. I'm the Prez, Nick Boorman, Carmine Bianco. I'm going to shower. I'm eating a shawarma today, Carm. I feel like a shawarma is the right call.
Yeah, are you going to that place?
No,
near,
too far. I'm just going to go to
National
like right
Sport?
down the road.
Okay.
Mr. Laffa is where you'll find me in about 20 minutes. So if anybody is in Thornhill, Ontario, I will be at Mr. Laffa in about 15 minutes. Mwah! Take care of yourselves. I need a catchphrase to get out of these shows, but I don't have one yet. Later, everybody.
And that's 2 yellows. I'm out of here. Hold up your red card, whatever.
Okay,
So,
I'll bring a red card to
whistle.
next show.
I don't know, man.
Okay. No, not a lamb shawarma, chicken shawarma. Bye, everyone.